Ladies and gentlemen, Trevor Lauer of DTE Energy.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for attending. This is going to be a great session. We get to talk about innovation and legacy industries. And if you look at the Detroit area or Michigan, there's probably not an area that's marked by more innovation, not only nationwide, but in the world. If you think about the auto industry here and the amount of innovation, not only in producing cars, but mass production techniques, it's amazing what happened. And I'll give you a quick story because many of you may or may not know this. Henry Ford was the chief engineer at Detroit Edison way back in the day in 1901 before he started the Ford Motor Company and actually started his business in one of the garages that the electric company owned to start it. So we've got an excellent panel today. I've got Natalie King with me today, and I've got Ryan Maibach and two of the real great innovators that we have inside of our region today. So without further ado, let me do a quick couple introductions. So Natalie King is the founder and CEO of Clean Energy Partners and also of Dunamis Charge, the first black woman-owned manufacturing electric vehicle charging station business. And somebody who I know well and we do some business with, and I really appreciate you being here and everything you do.
Thank you, Trevor.
Secondly, we have Ryan Maibach, who is Ryan, I want to make sure I get your title correct, is the president and CEO of Barton Mallow Holdings, which is, and the subsidiary of their business is called Lyft. And I've had the opportunity to know Ryan and his family for a long, long time, and somebody I deeply respect and the work that they do in their business. So Ryan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So with that, I think what we're going to do next is show a quick video, and then it's going to get turned over to you, Ryan.
Sounds good. So what you see in the video is actually building a building from the top down, and I'll provide a little bit of context on that here in just a moment. But first I'd like to say, hey, thank you to Trevor, to Cranes, to all of you for coming and your interest in what's happening in the city of Detroit. As Trevor mentioned, I'm CEO of Barton Mallow. We're about a $3 billion a year construction company based here in Southeast Michigan, but doing work throughout North America. We work on projects from automotive and manufacturing facilities to power production facilities to schools to stadiums. We've done about 130 collegiate and professional facilities throughout the country, and noteworthy projects like Little Caesars Arena here in our backyard to Camden Yards, Soldier Field, Daytona Speedway, etc. We're proud of what we do. We love creating facilities that positively impact people and communities, but we're very aware and understand how much our industry, the construction industry, really lags others in productivity. We've really embraced that fact about 12 years ago when we set a goal for ourselves to really make a difference, to try to move the needle on this industry that we're both very proud of, but frustrated that we are so lagging in innovation and in productivity improvement. So in embracing that, we set about a series of goals and objectives to use technologies, really challenge our methodologies of how we go about doing things to ideally double our efficiency by our 100th anniversary. And very literal goal, but in more figuratively, really just trying to reinforce to our 3,000 employees the need to embrace, again, new technologies and new methods to transform our industry or be a part of the solution along with some of our peers in begetting a difference in our industry. A couple of years into that goal, a team member in Virginia reached out and said, hey, I came across this really interesting concept of building a building from the top down. There's the engineering that supports it. Team and myself went out to investigate and very quickly realized the opportunities for efficiencies, both in cost and schedule, as well as in safety in doing this. We were able to acquire the intellectual property, spend a couple of years enhancing it to the point where we now have about 13 or so patents or patents pending, and are excited to have our first project underway just around the corner from here called the Exchange in Detroit, and that's the video that you saw. So really, what is that all about? What is this concept, and how does it help us improve and generate efficiencies in creating the built environment? What you see in the image are two structural spines that are very common in nearly all buildings that are built. That ultimately those spines create the space for elevators, for stairs as well, that are very common elements in multi-story buildings. They provide the chase for mechanical and electrical equipment to flow through, and they also provide the structural support for the building in its entirety. At the base of the building, we create a manufacturing environment, very appropriate that it's happening here in Detroit, really the hub of advanced manufacturing. And so what we're trying to do is mimic what we see in our automotive clients, Ford and General Motors in particular, in really generating efficiencies with the manpower that's executing this work. So the steel, the frame that creates the floor is built on the ground rather than 40, 50, 100 feet up in the air. Spray-on fireproofing, the concrete that's placed, the mechanical and electrical systems, even to the point where we're able to load floors with metal studs and drywall, tile, and even furniture in some cases, before we put on an enclosure, and then ultimately before we lift this about million-pound floor plate up to its final position, pinning it into a structure, and then finishing the floor in an enclosed environment. All things that we aren't normally able to do in the traditional approach to construction or to our industry. So it's really exciting. It's exciting that it's happening here in our own backyard. It's exciting for us to be a part of. We've learned a tremendous amount through the process. That learning not only gives us encouragement that there's really viability in this concept, but also that learning has really brought changes back into our core business and help us build stadiums, build hospitals, build power generation facilities a bit differently. So it's exciting for us to try to incubate a startup in a 100-year-old legacy business, and we're again excited that it's happening here in our own backyard and hometown. So thank you to those that participated in the tour that stopped by there yesterday. If you're interested in learning more, I would love to talk about it, or you can also click on the QR codes that are up on the screen. But appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about what we're doing.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's very cool, Ryan. So think about questions you might want to have. We're going to have Natalie speak next about all the cool things she's doing also. So Natalie, I believe we have a video also to start your discussion.
Correct.
Yeah, we were really happy to bring this technology to the city of Detroit. I was committed to ensure that we built dunamis chargers in the city. What better place to establish an electric vehicle charging manufacturing plant in the city that put the entire world on wheels. And so I wanted to make sure that we were able to pull from a very unique demographic of labor force that has built the best in the automotive industry. And so with Dunamis being an energy company that is now focused on a green energy automotive solution, we wanted to ensure that we were grabbing the labor force that has the expertise, the skill sets, in order to make a best-in-class product.
Hello, everyone. I am Natalie King. I am the founder and CEO of Dunamis Clean Energy Partners and Dunamis Charge. So thank you so much, Trevor and Ryan. and all of you that are here today to learn about the innovation that Dunamis Charge is bringing to the Detroit area and to the country and the globe ultimately. And so Dunamis Charge is the first Black woman-owned electric vehicle charging manufacturer in the world. We thank you. Thank you so much. And so with that, our purpose, our goal, our core tenets is to ensure that we bring this technology to all communities. One of our slogans is EV is for everyone. And so our goal is to make the transition to adoptability of electric vehicles and electrification as a whole free and apparent and easy for every community. And so with that, we developed a holistic model to our business. I mean, we started off over a decade ago as an energy efficiency company, energy management services, energy auditing solutions, and that's how I hooked up with DTE.
Yes.
We've been a prime vendor to DTE for several years now, and they've been one of our absolute best customers. And so in that, in working with utility companies, in working with automotive, it was a very natural I would say progression for us into the electric vehicle charging space. And we wanted to create a holistic model, bringing our energy efficiency service expertise, our energy management expertise, in order to create a very integrative solution with respect to electric vehicle charging, to make the adoption of this technology very easy to manage for every community, every customer, every municipality. And so with that, in that holistic model, we've really taken on, as the video represented, the goal of engaging the talent and the labor force here in the city of Detroit. It was very important that we locate and establish our factory here in the city. We're located right next to the old historic Packard plant. And we wanted to also focus on our operations being in communities that have been highly underserved and disenfranchised, and to pull from those communities for our workforce development and labor force. We wanted to make sure that we were pulling from communities that have been disproportionately impacted by greenhouse gas emissions in their communities with illegal dumping or smokestacks or issues with respect to clean air or clean water, environmental justice issues, so that we could take from those communities and integrate them into this burgeoning clean energy technology. And with that, a burgeoning economic atmosphere that we really want these communities to be able to take advantage of. So we've committed to 50% of our workforce, a minimum of 50% of our workforce coming from those communities, hiring Black and brown individuals from those communities with good paying jobs. So not only will the jobs create economic development, but we want them to create career development. We see the electrification boom in this EV industry as a great wealth transfer. It's going to be $1 trillion industry within the next 10 to 15 years. And quite honestly, for communities that are more disenfranchised and don't have the education about what is happening in the advancement of clean energy tech, and particularly in EV, you hear about it every day. All the time. You see it at the auto show, on display, and it's happening. And we want to make sure that all communities have the ability to participate and to benefit from the high growth sector of this industry. So that's what Dunamis Charge is all about. We wanted to make sure that the city that put the world on wheels was going to be intricately involved in creating a best-in-class product that we believe will be all around this world over the next 5 years. We're manufacturing level 2 chargers for residential and commercial applications. We're going into production this November. We're very excited about all of the growth and the hard work that has gone into building this manufacturing plant. And then we'll also be manufacturing our DC fast chargers in second quarter of 2023. So we're very happy to be here. We thank you so much, Cranes, for inviting us and to include us in one of the innovators in what we believe to be is going to be a phenomenal turn for the city of Detroit and for our nation as a whole. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, that was great, Ryan and Natalie, thank you. We would love to take a couple questions if there are any. I will tell you the lights are up here, so it's really hard to see. But does anybody have a question?
I have a microphone if anyone has a question. Are you getting up to ask a question? Oh,
Thank you. Hi, my name is Amelia. I'm part of the new Dexter's Detroit cohort. Super inspired by your partnership with DT Energy. How did that first conversation come to light? And can you talk a little about how that's evolved over the past couple years?
Is that question for me?
I think the question, Natalie, is around the partnership that we have around energy waste reduction and how it started and,
wonderful.
And kicking off that piece of the business.
Absolutely. I got into the DTE family years ago as a small woman-owned business, performing energy audits for DTE's small commercial customer base. And through that, I became a part of DTE's supplier diversity program. It was called Supplier Diversity 2.0. And DTE paired their top procurement individuals with minority companies that were in the energy space. I was on the energy waste reduction side, but also in their FOSGEN space. And so through that program, I began to network with more of the buyers, those that were making decisions with respect to contract procurement. And the relationship grew and matriculated from there. They've been a great supporter of Dunamis, and they truly believe in diversity and equity and inclusion. And so my company, along with several other companies that were part of that, ended up, advancing and expanding their relationship with DTE Energy from there. Thank you.
Others?
Ryan, my question is for you. I, like everybody else, has been fascinated to watch your building go up. But I'm curious, what are the advantages to building a building in that fashion?
Sure. Very fair question. I'm sorry for not hitting that a little bit earlier, but really largely cost and schedule first and foremost. We are building the Exchange project in about 30 to 35% less time than what it would be a traditional build. And that in and of itself has financial implications, carry costs typically for developers, et cetera. We believe that right now on Exchange there's a modest cost increase, but we do believe that as we continue to improve the technology, improve the efficiency of the labor on the ground, that we'll be able to see and drive more significant cost impacts as well. I would say similarly, there are a number of other benefits where when you think about the productivity issues in our industry, some of the labor workforce issues, the attraction issues that we have in our industry, it's going to be a lot easier to bring people that don't necessarily have a history with construction, familiarity, to train them how to bolt up steel on the ground rather than doing it 50, 60, 100 feet up in the air. So we believe that as well, by deploying this largely in more urban areas on a broader scale throughout the country, we'll be able to introduce construction as a vocation for many others in ways that we've not always been able to as an industry in the past.
All right, I'm going to take the moderator's prerogative and apologize to the audience, but Ryan, I've been fascinated watching it come up. I have a question also. So I think about safety, right? We're two industries that talk a lot about safety, and as I think about moving 1 million pounds in the air, could you talk to me about how you view safety with the way you would construct it versus the way you're constructing it now?
Absolutely. I would say that the Exchange site is exponentially more safe than a traditional construction site, primarily because, again, things that are very commonplace in our industry, as you would well know, fall protection, et cetera, we need none of that because there really are no fall hazards. The process, interestingly, the engineering that undergirds the methodology has been around for over a century. And so things like the towers that have been built at the Monroe Power Plant, it's the same engineering that is in the towers at Exchange. Yeah. So the concept of the structure itself, the lifting methodology, strand jacks have actually been around. They trace the roots hundreds of years back. And so it's really a different assembly of ingredients that have been in play in our industry for a long, long time. What's great is, we do track statistics, 0 incidents on this site. We'd be very surprised if there were, because the exposure to hazards just really aren't there.
That's great. So not only is it innovative, but also reducing the hazards to the workers, which, that's just a win-win. All right, that was my question. I know there's another one up here.
I think this is an amazing panel, and I would suggest that if someone could write a case study on the DTE and how Natalie started and evolved her business, we could scale your business globally, and so that's another topic. But Ryan, I was going to ask, with respect to the built environment, are there opportunities for women? How has the innovation that you've been doing in the construction industry, is there any opportunities for women-owned business to also evolve as Natalie has in utilities in that sector?
Yeah, I would again point to, I think, opportunities for women in construction, broad brush. There are many endeavors that we support to bring women into the industry. Women Who Weld is a phenomenal organization that is again, as well, happening right here in the city. And interestingly, when you look at the workforce on this Exchange site, we have a much higher proportion of women and disadvantaged individuals than in most other of our projects. Again, it creates new opportunities for us to introduce construction to individuals that may not have considered construction as an opportunity in the past, just because of, again, the nature of, it's really more manufacturing than it is construction in many ways.
Okay, so I've got to close up the panel, and I have the opportunity to just spend a minute or two. I was remiss. I'm Trevor Lauer. I'm the President and Chief Operating Officer at DTE. And I can't think of an industry that's more of a legacy business than ours. Our business was started in 1882. And a lot of the utility industry was started in 1882. But as we think about driving change, the change that's happening in our industry is happening so fast right now. And for the electrification to happen in the transportation industry and what you're working on, Natalie, we have to continue to evolve our business. So whether it's energy efficiency that we're doing with our customers to help them reduce the usage of our product that they have, or building new facilities. Ryan and his company have built quite a few wind farms and solar parks for us. And in fact, we're contracting with him again for 2 more large solar parks. We've gone from generating 80% of our power by coal in 2005, and at the end of this year, it'll be down to 28%. We're the largest owner of wind and solar parks in the state of Michigan, 2 or 3 times over, and one of the largest in all of the Midwest. A couple of things that came up here today that we were talking about is climate change, right? And we fundamentally believe a business like DTE needs to be in the middle of helping solve climate change for everybody. As you were talking about affected communities, environmental and energy justice, if a business like ours isn't in the middle of it, I don't believe we can solve it as a society. We've got a lot of things that we can do better. I know that, we all know that at DTE. But we're working with great partners like Ryan and Natalie, and many probably of others here in the audience to help us to continue to move down this journey. So I thank you both for the discussion today. I think it's a great example of how we innovate legacy businesses. And you know what? Detroit rocks, Michigan rocks. We're going to keep doing it. So thanks for attending, everybody.
Thank you.